I could care less what our top line and bottom line is. If we lose the culture and it's a place that people don't want to work, then I don't want to be there.
Welcome to Building Smarter Projects, a podcast dedicated to exploring the dynamic world of construction and technology. I'm your host today, Brad Burke, and I'm excited to be joined by Daniel Earnest, our Vice President of our Midwest region. Hey, Daniel.
Hello, Brad.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Well, I know you had a long trip. Are your arms tired?
That is the worst dad joke ever.
Thank you.
My daughter would appreciate it.
I feel like coming out of, Father's Day not that long ago, I figured you...
Actually, this was the most uneventful travel I've had in a while. For about a month straight, it seemed like every flight got delayed and every rental car had issues. So it was good. I got in on time and no issues.
You had to travel a lot in this role, and that's part of what we're talking about today. I mean, we're here, this particular podcast, I want to talk about culture, which I know you spent a lot of time on, very near and dear to your heart. And culture is an interesting thing as we talk about it, because you have cultures as like a nation. You have them in your regions where you live. You have them in companies. You have them in sports. There's all these different cultures. But we found, obviously, the organizations that seem to do the best have a really strong culture. It wasn't that long ago, the Midwest office, the Kansas City office, while it's always been a great place to work and be, it had some struggles and things like that. We weren't hitting on all cylinders. What did you do to change the culture out there?
We had a whole lot of success in certain areas of the business. But for a while, the office was trying to be the customer's answer to everything. And you can't be the customer's answer to everything. We had some things we were really good at, and we had some things we were doing that we weren't that good at, that were taking away from all the positive energy. So you have a whole lot of positive momentum in one direction, and it's really easy to suck that momentum away with a couple failures in another.
Sure.
So I call it the noise. I stripped away all that noise, which let us focus on the things that we are good at. And stripping away that noise, unfortunately, meant some people had to go because there were market segments that we were just weren't going to play in anymore. And you only have so many overhead dollars that you can invest, and we needed to make sure those overhead dollars were going to the right buckets.
So there's a skill piece there, but there is, sometimes we talk about, because I think we're on a similar journey as a company as well. And we talk about getting rid of the jerks too, because it's not just the skill set, but also you can have some of those naysayers that seem to suck the energy out of the room.
Yeah. Energy vampires.
And okay, I like that. Energy vampires.
Yeah, that came from something that Nathan gave me. It was actually at the HBH speaking.
Oh, okay.
One of the speakers. Apparently you weren't paying attention to.
Well, I might have. I think energy vampire is a cool term.
Yeah. Yes.
It's true.
So it's another thing. So it's not only the market segments you play in or the scope of works you perform. You got to have strong performers in those. But it's the people is the number one thing. So when I took this position, when Aaron asked me to take it, I told him the first year, I'm not even going to look at the income statement. I know we're not going to make money. We haven't made money for the last couple of years. I'm not going to turn that around overnight. My plan is to fix the people and the culture. If I get that right, then I'm positive the bottom line will take care of itself. I kind of rolled the dice with that statement. I'd obviously never been in that position before,
sure.
But I believed in it wholeheartedly, and I just stuck with my values there. And I focused on fixing the culture and the people. And little things, I call it a rally cry. I created a rally cry. It's row the boat, and it's really caught on over the years, and just one of those things that really defines our culture in Kansas City. And you create that rally cry and you get people behind it. And then next thing you know, you got everyone saying it and you got everyone believing in it. And then next you're celebrating success by saying row the boat. It's just one of those things. It brings a rally cry, brings the team together and gives them something to believe in. And fortunately, as a company, Enerfab, we really live by our core values. It's not something that's just written on a wall or something that's on a website that no one ever really references back to. Our 5 core values really define who we are as a company, and we everyone believes in them. And when you have that as, call it the guardrails, and you allow a regional office like myself to the autonomy to really operate within those guardrails and develop my own thing, though, it's been fantastic. I've been able to build the Kansas City and the Midwest culture within the overall culture of Enerfab, with the flexibility to do it how I needed to do it to be successful.
Right. I think, while we're not perfect, I think that's some of the things that we worked really hard at a corporate level to set up, is exactly believing in those 5 core values. And that's really the guiding light that drives so much that we do, and then leads into our strategic roadmap. So that kind of sets, to your point, the guardrails to where you can play within it.
Yeah.
I read something recently that said, the corporate culture is kind of like the sheet music. Everyone's going to play that song, but you might be playing jazz, someone else might be playing rock, somebody else might be playing pop. So you kind of you all know what that music is when you hear that song, but you're playing it a little different. You're making it fit your people, your customers, your region. And I think that's really important. I think that's where people screw up, is that you can't imitate, because there's too many factors of where we live, how people behave, driving different distance to jobs. I mean, everything is so different, skill sets of the workers, to your point before, finding what really fits in your market from a work standpoint that maybe doesn't fit in other parts. I mean, our Harrisburg office would be completely different than your office, and that's okay, right? I just think the culture is what's really allowed you to be successful, and I think you said something so powerful in there, which is believe. I think that's why a lot of us have been successful at Enerfab for so long, is because we really believe in it. It's not hard, right? Because we believe in it. We know what we're doing. We know where we're trying to get. We know what the game is, the end game. So how did you get some of those people that didn't believe to come on board? Or maybe they didn't.
Oh, well, as I was making some of those changes early on, refocusing what we were going to go after and how we were going to attack work. And there was a line outside my door of people handing me their resignation letters. And between that and the people that
Were you scared?
No, I just stay the course, man. I had a plan, and you're either going to be on the boat with us or you're not. And if you're hesitant about whether you want to be on that boat and having a paddle in your hand, then I don't need you on my team.
So in a weird way, were you excited by the line?
I wasn't excited. It didn't bother me a bit. It scared others.
Okay.
I know it did.
Yeah.
Anytime you have turnover like that and people resigning.
I just felt excitement, because maybe excitement's not the right word, but you were like, okay, it's working. I've elicited a response.
I knew the people that stayed and trusted the process. That's kind of an overused statement, but,
Yeah, but I get it.
It would pay off.
Right.
At least I believed it. And, hindsight, I'm glad I can sit here now and say 5 years later, or however long it's been, that I was right, and it worked.
Yeah.
It'd be a different story if it hadn't.
So you've had just unbelievable growth over the last 2 years in that office, both in the office and in your field sites. So you've hired, I don't know what the number is, called 100 new people in the last 2 years.
I think 86.
86.
Yeah, that was 2 months ago. That was the update.
See, I'm rounding up. You're probably at 100.
Yeah.
Maybe at 110. Who
Yeah.
knows? But the point is you're bringing in so many new people. So you've worked so hard to get that culture where it needs to be. How do you continue that? How do you bring people in and have them understand what that means?
Yeah. So that's a lot of different things there. One that we're focusing on a lot. So last year at my leadership team retreat, we got together and discussed, as we continue to grow, there are a few different things that we need to make sure that we focus on. And as a collective group, the number one thing that everyone wrote down off by themselves was, no matter how much we grow, we have to maintain the culture that got us here. I could care less what our top line and bottom line is. If we lose the culture and it's a place that people don't want to work, then I don't want to be there. So that is our number one focus as a leadership team, is to make sure that as we grow, we maintain that culture. So it starts, you have to trust the leadership on your job sites, because the culture that you have has to disseminate down to your general foreman, your foreman, to the journeyman worker out there. And you can't do that if you don't have strong leadership on your job sites that are 100% bought into the overall mission. Fortunately, we have that. The guys, and most of them that are out there running jobs for us, are grew up with Enerfab. They got 15 years plus under their belt, or at minimum 10, I would say. And they came up through the system. A lot of them started out in that foreman role, moved into general foreman, superintendent, and now project manager. I have one that worked through that craft path and is now our operations manager for the power division in Kansas City. They've been bought in from day one. They've been lockstep with me, but by my side. They were out there running work with me. So having that core leadership at the top, I have no doubt that when we go mobilize a job, that the culture is going to be set from the beginning when it comes to safety, quality, production, just how they're going to treat the craftsmen.
You have your champion out there.
Absolutely.
Already.
And they set the expectation, and then it disseminates down. It all starts there. And
there's no way to act other that way, right? They don't know. You can't act any other way.
This is the way we operate.
Yeah.
So as we brought the several new individuals on board, something that we rolled out within the last several months that it's still a work in progress. We're refining it, but we realized we weren't doing the best job of onboarding individuals and preparing them for whatever task that they had. HR does their process of hiring them in and going through the benefits and all those things, and they do a tremendous job of that. But then at some point it needs to turn over to the operations side to make sure this individual is prepared to go do their job. And part of that preparedness is every individual that hires in now goes through a leadership and culture class that I develop the content for it, deliver it when I can. When I'm not available, I have other individuals that help deliver it for me. But it talks about the expectations, talks about row the boat. This is why we're all in this together, and this is how the expectations are and how we're gonna operate. So from day one of them hiring in, they're getting hit with that culture and that influence to where they understand these are the expectations. This is how we're going to operate. So there's several other things they go through. They meet, I call it the 6 units that really make up the different segments of our business. And there's a leader for every one of those units. And they meet with all 6 of those business unit leaders to where they can understand how that individual segment, whether it's project controls or estimating or business development, rolls up into the overall picture of how we operate together. Each one of those individual units has to have an oar in their hand, rowing the boat. Otherwise, we go off course. And so that all starts from day one when someone hires in. They typically are going to spend a week and a half to 2 weeks in the office going through that orientation meeting with these individuals and focusing on those things to where when we deliver them to the field, that culture is already built into them. They know what the expectations are. And they also have some of the technical skills that they need, like SAP is its own animal.
Right.
And the way we use it is different than most companies. So without someone training you, it's going to be really hard for you to pick up on how we use it. So
right.
The minimum expectation should be when that individual goes to the job site, we're not burdening the project team out there. We're trying to train this individual on how to use these things. They have enough on their plate. They're out there trying to make the money that allows us me and you to sit here and have these conversations. So deliver them a product that's been through orientation, that comes out of the office, that has the bare minimum skills at least to be productive, and then they can build from there.
So the way I'm hearing you talk, I mean, the BOP, so we, as a company, we're trying to get better on some of that onboarding, the training. As you build a company over time and you have different regional offices, part of the success is letting them be entrepreneurial, but then part of the failure, you realize at a certain point, is that you don't have the standard across to everyone. And that ties back to culture. So these BOPs that we've put into place, this training, how do you think that is that helping you with your culture mission?
Absolutely. I was, anyone that's known me through my career, I've never really been a rule follower. I don't really like standard operating procedures or
right.
rules or structure. That's just not me. I don't operate well in
right.
that environment. But I found myself about 1.5 years ago calling Jacob Snyder and saying, man, we need some standard operating procedures. I'm bringing way too many people on board, and I at least need to be able to provide them a roadmap of how to do things.
Do you call that maturity or necessity? What is it?
Getting old, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. Necessity for sure. What we were doing wasn't scalable. We all had our own Excel file on how we track things,
right.
or did things different. And it works great when you're, a $30-40 million business unit, because you only have 3 or 4 guys that are out there running the work. But as we've grown and scaled so much, it found out real quick it was not scalable.
Right.
We needed to have some of these standard operating procedures in place to when we hire a field engineer, you can at least refer them back to it so that they understand.
Right. When you got 3 or 4 job sites or whatever, you can almost brute force the necessary, things. But as you now have, your region continues to expand, you're in Nevada, Iowa, all across, the space. And then on top of it, your responsibilities include our Evansville office and some of the changes that we've had there from, our steel shop and the field work and that type of stuff. So as you were growing too, as a leader, taking some of those things that you were doing at, say, a single job site in Kansas City, but then taking that across the region or taking it to a new office that had a whole different set of culture and beliefs and history and experience, and making them row the boat.
Yeah.
So how did you take, okay, so now you've built it in Kansas City, you got your core team, you got your 5 or 6 leaders that are really bought in, that are your cultural champions. Now, how are you taking that to another region, to another office?
It's another journey on itself. I underestimated, I would say, how difficult it would be to have that influence when you're not there on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
When I first took over Evansville, I was there every other week for the first 6 months. I committed to doing that. So I was building relationships with the people out there because I didn't know anybody when I first took over. So I spent that first 6 months building relationships, really understanding the dynamics and those inner relationships and inner workings. And I started over with the same exact thing. I told them, you got to kill the noise. You're trying to be everyone's solution to every problem they got, and it's not working for you. You're going to have to shut down some of these individual scopes that you're doing that aren't profitable because you're sucking the life away from some of these other divisions. Our refractory team out there has been phenomenal since day one. They've killed it on every job, always been profitable, but it's all getting sucked away because we were trying to do civil work just like we were in Kansas City.
Right.
And it was unprofitable. We didn't have the ability to estimate it or execute it at the level we needed to. So that was something that was noise. It was sucking it away and bringing negative influence on something that could be really positive.
Killing the legacy stuff that
you just
we've always done it.
Yeah.
Well, why?
Burn the ships.
Yeah.
I've been saying that since day one. That was another one of my philosophies when I came into this. If you're going to make a change, you got to burn the ships, and you can't have an off-ramp. You don't give them an option. And the only way I can do that, like when in Kansas City, when I said we're shutting down the civil division, we sold every bit of equipment that we had for the civil because I was burning the ships. It's not going to be an option that we're going to continue to do this because change is hard. And if you give people an off-ramp to, well, we're just going to go back to doing it this way, they're going to take that off-ramp because it's a path of least resistance.
Right.
If you burn the ships, don't give them a ship to return home on, they can't take that path of least resistance, and that drives change.
Wow. Yeah, that's kind of a scary concept when you talk about burning the ships and you're out at sea together, But I assume not.
You're on land before you burn the ships.
It's like I'm drowning. But that's the whole point. That is the point of the message, is that we're going to make change. There are things that you may have always done that we're not going to do going forward because it's not going to. And I think it's proven. I mean, now look at that office. I mean, they've landed the largest single plant maintenance contract in the company's history. Yeah. I mean, and a few years ago, I don't think we would even thought that was possible.
No, it took a while. We burnt the ships. We refocused on the things we were good at. I can tell you if there's one single thing that I've done out there that I think had the biggest impact, putting the right people in the right seats on the boat and putting Adam in charge of that office has been just created absolute positive momentum out there. His leadership style is very similar to mine, so him and I can jive very well. A lot of what we do comes from coaching and sports background.
Yep.
That's the only way I really came up learning how to lead people was in a sports environment or coaching sports. And the philosophies are absolutely no different in coaching sports as it is in leading business. It's influencing people and guiding and
motivating.
Yeah, it's the principles are all exactly
setting
the
a
same.
vision and saying this is what if it's coaching, it's hey, we're gonna we're gonna win the tournament at the end of the year or whatever it may be, or we're gonna win the league, or maybe it's as simple as like, hey, we're gonna score a goal.
Yeah.
Maybe your team is at the point where they
got to crawl before
celebrate
you
the
walk.
little wins. Like, okay, our first win is we're going to score a goal.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go and we're going to win.
Funny story. So I was out at Panasonic, our big EV battery site in Kansas City.
Yeah. How many lectures do we have out there now?
400-ish. Between all craft and management, we're up above 500 on that site on a daily basis. But I'm standing, our iron worker and pipe fitters did the modular trestle off-site fabrication, and that came and installed it on site. And I'm standing on this mezzanine or the second floor level, kind of overlooking the courtyard where this whole modular was installed. And our ironworker superintendent, Frank Lauer, is standing there with me. And me and Frank have been together forever. He started out as a journeyman, moved into foreman, and moved on up, and he's running all of our ironworker work right now. And you know, he was along for this whole ride. He's one of them ones that believed and stayed and stuck it out. He very easily could have went to another place and been extremely successful, but he believed in the mission, stayed with me through the whole thing. And we're standing over there looking over this trestle. You know, the project's wrapped up. We're all done. There's just so much activity and things going on out there. And that was just a huge successful project. And Frank said, you remember, it wasn't 4 or 5 years ago. I remember this specifically. I got a $200,000 PO from a customer, and you called me and were just more excited than anything I've ever heard. You're like, yeah, man, we're going to kill it. Over $200,000. And now look what we're doing. It's like, yeah, you got to crawl before you can walk. And that 200,000 at that point in time was an absolute, it's a game changer. I knew that PO would keep you busy for at least the next 2 months. It gave us a little bit of rope. And then we just had to go find the next $200,000 one. And the next thing you know, we're doing $40 million projects with those guys, and they're just knocking it out of the park. So
that's so cool.
Yeah.
What a moment for you and for him, obviously, sitting there almost cathartic, sitting there overlooking. I just love that, you know, kind of that vision of looking over this job site, all the things you've built and created with the team and all the people you've put into place. And you're like, it worked.
Yeah.
This is like, here's a moment where I can step back and go like, geez, it was a lot of hard work, but let's celebrate this.
I talked about this with Scott Anderson last night at dinner. When I got into construction because I really like building things, and part of me loves the instant gratification of being able to go and walk the job site at the beginning of the day, see what we got done, and then at the end of the day, you go and you see the steel got put up or the pipe got put up. And you're like, oh man, we killed it! Look how many linear foot of pipe, or whatever it was that we put up. And it gives you that instant gratification. You see things coming out of the ground. Well, as I've moved out of being on the job sites in different roles, you lose that instant gratification, because there's days where I go home and the wife says, "What'd you do today?" And I say, I have no idea. I was busy all day long, but I don't know what I accomplished. But what I've replaced the building projects with is building people.
Yeah.
And to be able to stand there with Frank and look over that and look back on his journey, when he even admittedly said, you asked me to be a foreman. I didn't even want to be a foreman. Like, I was just happy in the crew. And now he's just a phenomenal manager and leader of our culture and everything.
Well, I think you said no to taking over the office once or twice too. So
yeah, but just seeing all the individuals that we've provided opportunities for in their journey gives me that gratification now. It's so much better than building any project I've been on, just developing people and watching their journey.
Well, this is the stage of your career that you're in now.
Yeah.
It's exciting. And all the other people that you set up and laying the foundation for where they get to go. I mean, yeah, when you talk about things, I mean, we end up in these pockets of life, but it's only been 5 years since, we're coming out of COVID and rebuilding the teams and the growth of the company that, your office is 40 million. Now you're going to do what, 200 million?
Oh, 260.
260. Who's counting? But it's just amazing. Well, I know you love nautical references, nautical metaphors. So I don't want to leave without. So if I asked anyone on your team, what does row the boat mean to them? What would they say?
Well, I don't know what they would say. I'd like to know. I think I would know what they would say. But yeah, if you ask the seasoned guys that have been with me forever, it means fighting through any storm together and doing it as a team. We're all committed and bought into the mission, and the mission is at the end of that river or ocean or whatever it is, the other side. And no matter what storm comes our way or how tall the waves get, it doesn't matter, because we're all going to have an oar in our hand, and it's going to be in the water, and we're going to do this together. And if one of us fails, then we all fail. It's our successes and our failures are not on individuals. They're as a team. And we approach every challenge that way. And if you're not bought into that, then you're not going to fit in with our team, and you know it very quickly.
Right. If you do it on your own, then good luck. You get everyone in the boat together, then as a team, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. I preach to never put individual success ahead of the team mission. So You may be able to run down the field and score that touchdown, but if you lose the game, then who really cares?
Right.
The goal is to win the game, not to have the most rushing yards. As an easy way to put it, I guess.
Well, yeah, and I think there's some nearsighted view of that too. I mean, even with my own children, I talk about that. If you're gifted and you're good at something, whether it be basketball, soccer, football, whatever, sports metaphors are easy, and you can go out there and score 3 goals, but the rest of your team didn't learn or get any better through the course of the season. Okay, that's a short-term goal. Okay, you got 3 goals. Maybe you did good that season. Well, none of those kids are going to be good enough in a couple of years to compete on the level you want to compete on. If you're not teaching them now and raising everybody up to the level and teaching them how to be a good player today, then we'll outgrow them. As the organization continues to grow, you won't be able to move with us. So setting that foundation and then really teaching them how to grow and be part of that culture, I think is important from day one. So they can see that opportunity and really believe in it. Like, hey, I can do this. To your point on Frank, I didn't even want to be a foreman. And now you're running all the crews.
Yeah.
You got to show them that vision and show them they can be successful.
My job is just put the right people in the right seats and just get out of their way, because I'm
Clear
fortunate.
roadblocks.
I'm very fortunate that I've surrounded myself with some extremely talented individuals that are way smarter than me. And if I can just provide them a little bit of guidance and a runway to do their job and look out a year ahead of them and knock those roadblocks down to where they can continue to do what they're doing, then they're going to be successful. There's no way to deny it.
So one of the things I've heard you say or I've heard talked about is loving an idea for 5 minutes.
Oh, you're close.
Is that okay?
Take every idea and love it for 5 minutes.
Take every idea and love it for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
What does that mean? What does that do for you?
So every individual on the team has life experiences, has cultural influences, whatever it may be, that makes them see things through a certain lens or provide certain experience. And it doesn't matter if that's the guy that's its first day on the job or the guy that's been there for 30 years. The only way that we can continue to evolve is being open to new ideas. Everyone hears me say it as part of our leadership development that every new employee sits through. Take every idea and love it for 5 minutes. So
Well, what if it's a bad idea?
then you love it for 5 minutes, and then you agree that here's why it's not going to work, and you throw it out the door. But the minute someone brings up an idea and you just shut them down, they're not going to bring up ideas again. They're going to go back and feel uncomfortable raising their hand and bringing up those ideas. And I can tell you some of the best ideas we've had have come from people that we brought in from outside the organization that have other experiences outside of Enerfab, and they say, why do we do things this way?
Right.
And you're like, I don't know.
Frankly, I don't know.
Unfortunately, I'm going to say it's because that's the way we've always done it, but I hate that saying.
Right.
And they're like, well, I have a better way. Okay. Yeah, let's hear that. Well, I encourage everyone to innovate and come up with new ideas.
Right.
And the only way you can do that is if you don't shut them down. So if you take every idea and love it for 5 minutes, talk about it as a team, and decide whether or not you're going to move forward with it. But if you clap hands as a team and say, yeah, this is the idea and we're moving forward, then you're all in. And you burn the ships and you go make this one happen. If it's a bad idea, you just explain why. And some people may disagree on it. But at the end of the day, as long as you're committed as a team to work together on whether you disagree with that specific idea or not, then you're still going to
Well, at least you fostered the environment where everyone feels comfortable to at least debate it. And maybe they come away going like, yeah, I didn't think about it that way. That is, yeah, okay, I get what they're saying. Yeah. Or the other way, those guys that they thought it was maybe not a great idea at the beginning, and by the end of it, they're going, well, shoot, I never thought about it that way.
Absolutely.
Maybe we should. Maybe we could do that.
And that's the only, you take that down to our safety culture in the field.
Yep.
How are we going to get better if we don't allow the first year apprentice to question and throw ideas out there and allow them to feel like they have a voice and actually listen to them. Again, you take that guy and shut him down, he's not going to raise his hand and bring things up again. I remember when I was 18 years old and my first job on a power plant. It's overwhelming. You walk into this huge industrial environment that you don't understand, and you got all these old graybeard guys that are just rough,
intimidating,
rough and gruff,
right.
Blue collar guys. And I grew up with those guys, but they're intimidating,
right?
And
by nature,
the environment of the workforce back then and the culture was so different than what it is today. I was the last one that was going to bring up any ideas because they just tell me to shut up, get back on the tools and go to work.
Job.
Yeah. But if we encourage that, then they're going to bring up new ideas. This new generation, they have smarter ways of doing things.
Right.
I disagree with everyone pigeonholing this next generation as being lazy. I don't think they're lazy. They just want to find better ways to do things.
Right.
And you just got to be open to do it. We can automate
They're just
things.
faster.
We can use
They're not
different
lazy.
tools.
They're just faster.
Yeah. just
we see it all the time. We'll give a
listen to what they
co-op
say.
something. We'll think it'll take 5 days. They're back in 2 hours. And you're like, how in the world? Well, I watched a YouTube video on this. I downloaded this program and I did this. And now it's all, I'm like, thank you.
Yeah. If you shut that down, then we're never going to grow.
Right.
So take every idea and love it for 5 minutes.
Well, the next challenge, I think, as you know, we have a dynamic workforce and we're spread out from a geography standpoint and we have different leaders. So you've loved this idea for 5 minutes. It's turned into a great idea. You fostered it at a particular job site and it's turned into a great plan. How do you take that and bubble it up not only to your own organization, but across our fleet? You know, how do you take something that's working so well for you, whether it be a safety thing, whether it be a better way to collect time, whether it be a better way to set up your job site, whatever it may be, how are you taking that and then bringing it to Pittsburgh or Michigan or Ohio Valley or anywhere else? How do we do that as a company?
Well, I'm a firm believer that you got to keep pounding the stone.
Mm-hmm.
You got to keep talking about it. You got to keep discussing it. It can't just be an idea that you bring up and then let it fizzle out and then don't just continue to discuss it. And as the leaders go around from job site to job site, you got to be a champion of the idea or the concept or whatever, or whether it be Procore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we recently we implemented Procore and we're spreading it to all of our job sites, and it's up to all the leaders to be champions of that.
Sure.
You can't have the negative talk about it. You got to be positive and get behind it. This is the way we're going.
Right.
There's no doubt about it. So let's all be positive about it, and let's not talk about the downside of it or the challenges we're having.
Right.
Let's look at it in a positive light and how much it's going to change our business and evolve. Right. And it gains traction. I was just telling Dave Hills before this. 3 years ago, I showed up on a Friday with a Hawaiian shirt, and I said, "Hey, I'm declaring this Hawaiian Shirt Friday." And everyone said, "This is dumb. We're never going to do it." And then over the years, every Friday, I still show up and I wear a Hawaiian shirt. I didn't care if everyone thought it was a bad idea. I loved the idea. So then it slowly caught on. Last week, like 75% of the office that was in our Friday morning meeting were all wearing Hawaiian shirts. Fortunately, it's a whole bunch of the new people that had started, and they caught on. Like, oh, I don't mind wearing a Hawaiian shirt. And some of the old guys like, okay, I'll give in now too. And it doesn't change anything. It's just part of the culture. That's just a prime example.
Of having fun.
You got to be relentless with it. Like if you believe in something hard enough, don't let anyone deter you.
So what do you think the Hawaiian shirt's doing for the culture? Is it?
I don't have any idea. It's just something fun to talk about.
Hey, we work hard.
And my daughters tell me that I look hideous because I wear a Hawaiian shirt.
Now we're getting to it.
It doesn't match my shorts or my pants or whatever I'm wearing. I don't care.
The true reason it started was just to upset your daughter.
No, possibly.
Okay. Now it's no. I mean,
no, it's just an example of use that as a metaphor for just being relentless. If you have an idea and you believe in it hard enough, just keep pounding the stone and never give up, and you'll get there.
And people will catch on.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. Row the boat didn't catch on at first. They were like, why is this guy standing in front of us saying row the boat? What the heck is he talking about? And I was relentless about it, you know?
When you started your career, you're on the job site. So the way you probably handle relationships was different than you handle them today.
Oh,
you're now dealing with that same worker who's coming in scared and has never worked on an industrial facility, and you're dealing with an executive or a CEO of a major company that you're working with. So how have you learned to foster relationships at different levels, if you will?
I'm going to go off script a little bit on this one.
We love off script.
Well, it's because as we've grown so much, there is a lot of demand and very limited supply on individuals in the construction industry. That the industrial construction market is booming right now.
Mm-hmm.
More projects than there are people to perform them. There's no doubt. So as we've had to hire, or as we've fortunately been able to hire and add more people to the organization, I've told our team, we're not hiring for a resume. We're hiring for culture, value, and morals, because you can't teach those things.
Yep.
if we can hire the guys that have and the women that have the culture and value and morals that fit with the rest of our team, and we know they'll row the boat, regardless of whether they know how to row, we'll teach them. We'll teach them the technical things that they can be taught. I can't teach someone to have better values and morals. I say that because I firmly believe it, and that's how I can relate to anybody. I'm the same person whether I'm talking to a CEO or if I'm talking to a laborer sweeping the floor. My culture, values, and ethics don't change from one to the other, and I've stuck by them the whole time. I'm a farm kid who got a degree in construction management because he liked to build things. My dad was a Boilermaker. I lived a blue-collar life my whole life. That's what I'm grounded in, and that's who I am, and that doesn't change. So I can easily relate to anybody for the most part. As long as I'm just true to myself and genuine, that's what I believe in.
I think everyone can see that, right? I mean, that's I think the most effective leaders are the ones that believe in what they're doing, and then they're just who they are. They're honest, they're trustworthy, they're straightforward, they're clear in their message.
I don't mind being vulnerable. I'm an open book to everybody. I've stood in front of my team and cried. I've stood in front of them and laughed. I don't hide anything. They know everything about my life because I got nothing to hide. And that's I relate to I want to relate to them on a different level than just I'm not the boss. I'm part of the team. We're here to help each other out.
Well, it's clearly working, Dan. You've built a hell of a team, and the numbers are one thing. Obviously, they're showing the results, but I think more importantly, it's the team you've built, the hardworking people that want to work for Enerfab. They want to be part of this. They see what's happening. They've heard the stories, and they're like, I want to be a part of that. I've worked for a lot of crappy companies out there. Construction at some level, I don't want to say it's a dime a dozen, but there's a lot of companies out there that people can choose to go work for, and people choose to stay at Enerfab, and they choose to come work for us, and it's because of the things you're doing. So what's next on the culture journey? You've got it to this point. What's next?
Yeah, funny you should ask. We're in the middle of a new project right now that we're just kind of laying the groundworks for. But Enerfab as a company and HBH, we have the Rising Star program. We have the ELG program that is more designed for, I would call it the office management staff.
Right, those are some of our leadership development groups.
Yeah, which is fantastic. I've been through, I was part of the Delta group at one time. I don't think that one's around anymore, but then the ELG. So I've been fantastic for my leadership development. I firmly believe the most important person in the company is the guy out there with the tools in his hand.
Yep.
And I want to invest more in developing them and giving them the opportunities to move up into that level. So we don't have a name for it yet. We're still working through that, and we don't have the concept completely finalized. We're about 2 months into kind of laying the groundwork for it. But my goal is right after the first of the year to introduce a new leadership development training program for the craft worker that's at a general foreman level to help prepare them to move to that next level as a superintendent or project manager. So many times we make that, call it promotion, because the guy's a really good foreman. Okay, well, now we're going to move him up to general foreman. But have we really given him the tools he needs? Because leading at that level of a foreman is different than leading at a superintendent level. And have we given them the soft skills and experience they need and the technical skills? Now they're getting introduced to SAP and all these things.
Sure.
And over the years, we've done it. You get promoted, and then it's kind of sink or swim.
Yeah. Good luck.
Here's a computer and a truck. Go to that job site, figure it out. We'll provide you some support, but you're going to have to struggle through a lot of this on your own. And there's good and bad with that, because the guys that struggle through it and figure it out, they're going to rise to the top because they're never going to give up and they're not going to get defeated. But we're not doing our job good enough in preparing them for that. So, right, that's my goal, is to have a cohort of 10, 12 individuals that we're going to put through this program. They're going to have to commit to it. Their boss will have to commit to allowing them to attend. But it's going to be once a month, focusing on leadership, culture, and technical skills to help develop them to the next level. Because I know we have to make investments in our people, and we need to take that down to even down to the craft level. Sure. To continue to develop their leadership. Because as a company, we can't grow. We can't go on and take on other big projects that we don't have a trustworthy leader to go do.
Right.
And right now,
It's a limited resource.
I'm not comfortable going to market and trying to hire somebody and sending them to go run one of our big jobs, because it's putting our name on the line that this individual that we don't really have a relationship with, that we spent, a month in a courtship through the interview process, to put our relationship and reputation on the line to allow him. I'm not comfortable doing that. What I am comfortable doing is taking a guy who worked by my side for the last 10 years, and sending him to Iowa to go run this job, because I know without a doubt it's going to get done correctly, and the culture on that project is going to match the culture expectations that we have. I can't say that for someone that we hire off the market.
Right.
So the only way that we can grow is develop those internal people, and some of the best people to develop internally are the guys that grew up with tools in their hands and have that technical experience, because we can teach them those other things.
Right. You just got to give them that next tool for the tool belt.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about the type of leader we need in the business and the shortage of workers coming in. I know one of the places that we see a lot of value for a lot of reasons is with our active military and veterans of military. I know you've been able to tap into some of that network recently, and I don't know all the programs, but I know there's like an internship basically where they can come and check us out and different things.
So that program's called Hiring Our Heroes.
Hiring Our Heroes.
We had our first individual that came through that program. Was towards the end of last year, I believe. And so it's a 3-month internship as active military members are transitioning into retirement. It's a 3-month period where they continue to be paid by the government, but they go work in 4 days a week in the workforce. And then on a Friday, they have a cohort meeting where they work on some stuff internally, meet with the group that are all part of this Hiring Our Heroes program. So 4 days out of the week, you get they just work alongside in your organization, and it's no different than an internship with a college student. It's the expectations. You don't really know what you're getting into, but it's kind of a 3-month-long interview process, and also allows that individual to get a glimpse of what it's like working, in the civilian world as compared to the military.
To kind of help with that transition.
Yeah. So one of the couple recent success stories, Rick Showalter, he was our Hiring Our Heroes intern. I sat down with an interview with him prior to bringing him on board in that internship program. And 28 years in the Army, had worked all over the world, did strategic planning up to at the NATO level, taught at the Army College. So a vast amount of experience, and he knew what he had to offer, but had no idea how those skills could relate to the civilian world or where he would fit in.
Interesting.
So he came in, met with me in the Kansas City office, and kind of vulnerable. It's a scary experience. He spent 28 years of his life in the military. Now he's transitioning out, and it's what's next? What am I supposed to do? Let's figure this out together. So tell me what your skill sets are and where you can provide value. So he starts explaining it to me. I was like, man, I've been trying to work on our strategic plan for the Midwest for a while, and it's just one of those things that he always gets put on the back burner.
Sure.
And so it's like, you've done this at the all the way up at NATO.
For NATO,
Surely you can figure this little company out. So how about you come on board and we'll work on the strategic plan together? It's like, yeah, that's great. And you could see he was excited. He's like, yeah, I feel like that's something I could provide some value with. So he came on board for the 3-month internship. Went fantastic. He fit in well. And one thing that he will say now, that the culture that we have in just the construction world in general, he feels is very similar to the camaraderie that he had in the military. You compare our general foreman and superintendent, kind of the rank and file, very similar to how the military is laid out. So he gets it, he can picture it. And honestly, these individuals that have been through the military, spent their whole career there, you don't get any better leadership training than that.
Sure.
There's a lot of things the government does wrong, but one thing that they do very well in the military is teach leadership training and principles. And these individuals, they spent their whole, it's just embedded in them. and the culture and the ethics and values all line up perfect. So Rick is just one of a few that we've had a lot of success with. Several veterans across our organization, and some of the best performers that we have are ex-military. So, they sacrificed a lot for us and for our country, and the least we can do is give them an opportunity to come in and post-retirement out of the military to come and join our organization. And they're producers. There's no doubt. No.
What a great program too for them to be able to, because there's probably some level they don't know where they want to live. Because coming out of the military, they've been living all over the world, all over, there's probably some level of like, where are we setting up our home base? What am I going to be doing? How do I bring value every day? And so I just think it's such a great program. And I've seen it even in the trades as well. So if you don't want to come in and maybe do what Rick's doing, or some of the things that we have, from field engineering to project management to scheduling and safety and all that type of stuff, I know like the Boilermakers and the pipe fitters and people like that have those same things set up.
Helmets to hard hats.
Yeah. Well, even before that, they have training programs, similar thing, where that you, for 3 months, you can go and you can come out and get your certified welding, or you can come out as a journeyman in one of these trades. So I just think it's really neat. And we got to support those types of programs. To your point, there's some of the best workers we can have. And also, all the sacrifice and things they've done for us, to provide that pathway, when for the first time in a long time, that's probably not as clear as it always has been for them.
Yeah.
That's got to be an interesting time. What would you tell somebody who's in the military right now that's looking for a career change, or looking for an opportunity? What would you tell them about Enerfab?
Well, I'd tell them to talk to some of the veterans that work for us, because it's very easy for me to say things.
Yeah.
Everyone would expect me to. Who would say that? Oh, if I was telling people this is a bad place to work, then I'm doing something wrong.
Right.
But I would encourage them to talk to some of the veterans that work for us. And I can promise you the message you're going to get is this is a fantastic place to work. We value the veteran community. And a lot of the culture and the morals and ethics are going to fall right in line with what you're used to from the military side of things. So it's been great. And not only with Rick, who I talked earlier about the next level leadership training program they're doing. Rick is spearheading that for me. So that's one of the things I threw on his plate and asked him to spearhead, and doing a phenomenal job there.
That seems like a perfect fit for him.
He provides value in so many different ways. Now there is the 28 years of military. Everything is very regimented and in line, and we don't operate exactly that way. So there's a little bit of a
learning some flexibility, and things don't just happen.
He sent me a military to civilian thesaurus so I can understand some of the things he's talking about sometimes. Because like Rick, I don't know what that acronym means.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably a lot of letters, a lot of acronyms.
There is, but we're learning together, so it's been great. And not only him, we brought another individual, John Ramito, spent another, he was 28, 30 years in the military. He's out at Panasonic working for our electrical team now. He's kind of the subcontracts project manager and leading those. And I was out there a couple weeks back and visited with him just to check in. He's 6 months probably in on the job now, and gave me the same feedback. Loving it. The culture, the environment feels very much like the military, and just the camaraderie. Understands the rank and file and the reporting structure. So it was just a really easy fit, and both those guys have just given me nothing but positive comments back about transitioning into Enerfab from the military.
That's great. Well, thanks for joining me today. I thought it was an exciting podcast. A lot of things going on out there.
Yeah, good times.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us for Building Smarter Projects. We'll see you next time.